Então, são negócios, comunicação e direito. Hoje nós vamos ter uma aula de negócios com um CEO. Então, muita dica, a gente conversa, troca muita ideia, tá? O Professor Peter, ele é da University de Summer Springboard. Quem tiver qualquer pergunta sobre a universidade, pode chamar a gente aqui no chat, mandar um e-mail. Eu vou pedir para a Eva colocar o e-mail dela também no nosso chat. Eva, can you please share your email address with the students? Caso alguém tenha alguma pergunta, queira saber mais da universidade, pode mandar um e-mail para ela, que ela vai muito feliz ajudar vocês. Tá? Antes da gente começar a aula, pessoal, quero passar uns recadinhos. Primeiro, quem não está seguindo o Instagram, @efígieeduca, segue lá. Pessoal, Instagram rola muito sorteio, rola toda a agenda da Mock Class, a gente coloca lá todos os links de tudo que vai acontecer. Então, acompanha o nosso Instagram. Aqui na telinha de vocês está aparecendo o QR Code. O QR Code é para vocês entrarem no grupo do Telegram da Efígie, tá? Um grupo super legal, cheio de informação importante para quem está pensando em estudar fora, dica de aplicação e premiação diferenciada. Lembrando também, tem sorteio no final de cada trilha para todo mundo que tem 3 certificados. Então, todo mundo assistindo bastante aula para concorrer aí a todos os prêmios. Tá? Então, vamos começar a aula de hoje. Welcome, Professor Peter. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much. It's much appreciated. So welcome, everybody. It's a great pleasure to have you all here. If you can hear me, please say so. And what I will do is I will give you here a first taste of the 2-week program that I developed for Summer Springboard. I'll condense what is here normally a 3-hour class into 1 hour, but hope I give you the gist of it. So let me, without further ado, jump into a few slides. I've pulled the slides from a workshop that I held in January this year. Maybe quickly about me myself. I'm from Germany originally. I studied engineering, economics, and law, worked with McKinsey across the globe really, but mostly in Europe and Africa. I ran then a private equity investment firm in Africa that did long-term investments and then founded a school for gifted children in Africa, which is now the school that supplies more students to the Ivy League schools than any other school in Africa. And at the bottom is my email in case you're interested. We normally do a small warm-up exercise, you know, to get to know each other and have a bit of fun. Unfortunately, because of lack of time, we'll have to skip that. That's a real pity. So let me then just run through the slides until we come to, I mean, this is really at the beginning of this 2-week course. And so it's a question a bit around management and what is strategy and what is tactics. I really like to ask that question because it's pretty fundamental. And so maybe can I ask some of you, what do you think is strategy? Anybody want to chip in here? I think if somebody wants to say something, please unmute and then just say something. If I don't hear anything, I'll just continue, but I always prefer if it's interactive. So the warm-up exercise would have made sure that it's interactive. Okay, then let me move on. So the strategy, first of all, there is no clear-cut definition. If you think there's a clear-cut definition, this is strategy, this is tactics, no, doesn't really exist, you know, but there's some overarching principles, you know. So strategies, for example, more the key decisions that determine the path for the future, rather than the little ones once you're already on the path of where you want to go, you know. And there was a great chess player, a grandmaster in the past, who said that tactics is to know what to do when there is something to do. Let's say you're hungry, you can go to get some pizza. That's tactics, How do I actually make sure I have something? Strategy, on the other hand, is really knowing what to do when there's really nothing to do. It's about more setting the direction you want to go into. It's a much more subtle thing to do. And anyway, so strategy is also more principle, rule, and insight based. It's not really situational. It's some higher level concepts that guide you in your thinking. So with that, let's not spend more time looking into tactics, but look more at a little case study that I want to give you. And the case study will really be the bulk of what we do today. And I use this case study because, as small as it might appear to you, it has the beauty that it has really all aspects of what you do in business. It's about entrepreneurship, it's about strategy, it's about quantitative thinking, so thinking in numbers. It's about qualitative thinking, ideas, idea generation. It's also about then assessing those ideas versus other ideas. So in a nutshell, while it's a small example, it's beautifully rich. And as you think more about it, you get to appreciate it. So the case that I want to discuss with you is as follows. You are an ice cream vendor in Egypt. Okay, so hope you're all remotely familiar with Egypt. There's the pyramids of Giza, and they are not too far away from Cairo. So from Cairo to the pyramids of Giza, that is, let's say, about a 20-kilometer drive. And let's imagine it, for simplicity's sake, that here's the city of Cairo, and then here's the pyramids of Giza, and there's like one major access road that connects the two. And you are a single parent. Yeah, unfortunately, your partner passed away a couple of years ago, very sad. And you have 3 kids, and those 3 kids you take care of. You sell your ice cream, and you just make enough money to feed them, to buy them clothes, but really you don't have anything to save. But you live from the hand to the mouth, so to say. Now, the thing is, okay, that we are in the year 2018. I deliberately don't pick 2014, given I talked to you from Brazil. So in 2018, in half a year's time is a soccer World Cup. The soccer World Cup. And so your kids, which are adamant football lovers, they want to see the football World Cup, and they've been on your case that you must get a TV. Okay, and so you're a bit pained, because I mean, how can you buy that TV, And they're also adamant. They've been dreaming about this. They would like to have this big TV, with awesome stereo and the whole thing. And you've checked, and I mean, this would be the dream of their life, and you really want to make it happen. And but unfortunately, this TV costs you $1,000, So now, while you're there sitting there and wondering what to do, you have the good luck that a friend of yours, old friend of school, is dropping by for the evening, and that friend happens to be me. Okay, and so you can ask me all kind of questions as you explore what you could do to improve your earnings such that you can buy that TV. Now I can already give you a few things, a little bit of information up front, which I have here. You have a cooler box, you have a big box, and that cooler box holds 50 ice creams. Yeah, and so typically what happens is that in the morning comes a truck, and you buy ice cream so that the cooler box is full. Then you sell them throughout the course of the day, and whatever is left, let's say you sell 20 ice creams, then there's 30 still left. So thankfully the 30 ice creams, they stay cold overnight, so they don't melt, because you have two really large ice blocks in the cooler box, which keep the cooler box cold throughout the day and night. Every morning you have to replace those two big ice cubes in the ice box in order to make sure that the ice box stays cold. So every morning, then when the truck comes again, your supplier, you buy enough ice cream to top up. So let's say you had 30 left, so that next morning you buy 20, so that your ice box is full again. So the large cooling ice blocks, let's say here, they cost $3 a piece. Yeah, and they keep the box cold. I said that. You sell on average 20 ice creams a day. Now that's an average. That's really an average over the year. In reality, in the peak of summer, imagine it's like a super hot day in Egypt, you know, Egypt doesn't have much rain. Then you might sell out, you know, because there's so many people who want to have an ice cream. But on in a cold winter day, you know, might not sell much at all, you know, sell below 10. The sales price for each ice cream is $1.50, and you buy an ice cream for 50 cents. So that is the basics really of what you do. Okay, so you want to buy that TV with a surround stereo, and I said here 50 days. Wow, I was very tight then. So, okay, let's say the Soccer World Cup in 50 days, the whole pre-reporting of the World Cup starts. And so in 50 days, I want to be able to earn $1,000. And so here we're sitting, you know, this is your little business. And what would be great to hear from you. Yeah, what can we do? And if you have any questions, you know, I'm here, you know, and I can think this through with you. In the normal class, what I do now, we do 5 minutes questions and answers, and then I split the students up into breakout groups of 4, where the students can then elaborate a bit their ideas, and then later come back and present to the plenary what the best ideas were. In any case, we'll not go into breakouts today because it's short, but we'll still do the same format. You can ask me now some questions, and then after that, let's go and think about what one can do. So with that, what questions do you have to me?
Guys, you can open your mic and ask questions or ask the questions in the chat.
Yeah, I would prefer, what's the chat? Okay, here is the chat. How can we buy the TV? Well, to buy the TV, you go to a shop. There's a shop in Cairo, and which your cousin runs, and so that's where you would buy the TV. Is the current season summer or winter? Very good, very good. Let's assume we are in, let's say we are in March, and you want to have this by May. So we're in spring. In spring. What other questions do you have? Do you think you understand everything you need to know already? Or is there more that you would love to know? Then, because you know what, in management and in business, the first thing to do is to understand the problem. You know, you can't really come up with great solutions if you don't fully understand the problem. And often one thinks one understands the problem, but the more you actually get to know things, the more you realize, yeah, if I had only known that, you know? So the first thing in business often to become aware of problems. Yeah, okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Professor Peter. So the thing, what I think is happening is that the students were not prepared for do some calculations. So I stimulated them to ask by chat or opening the microphone.
Yes.
So perhaps you can also open your calculators and do some maths, or we can just advancing in the class.
don't worry, I won't push you really into complicated math. You don't need to worry. See, I mean, so some of you have already jumped to the conclusion that this is very complicated math. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. No? Okay, so you say, to cool half the amount of ice cream, can I have only one block of ice? That is a very good question. And let's assume that you could do that, because, yeah, let's just simply assume that one block of ice would be good enough. Let's assume that. What other questions do you have? Well, I could think that I mean, I don't want to give it all away. I can think about question. Can you sell other products? You know what? You're an entrepreneur. You can do whatever you want. What else? For example, can we buy 2 coolers? In principle, you could buy 2 coolers. A second cooler is not very expensive, probably costs around $20. I'm sure maybe even as the friend, I could maybe lend you that money, you know, then you pay me back from the extra earnings, yeah, because on a really, really hot day, you might sell more than 50. So that's when the second cooler box comes in handy. But don't forget, for the second cooler box, you also need to then buy these cooling ice blocks, you know. So using the second box only makes sense if you're sure that the first one is not good enough, which is really probably only a few days in the year, or maybe in summer, yeah. But yes, that's good. This is all good, because these are the things that start getting the juices going. Raising prices, absolutely. Why could you not do that? It's a good, yeah. You could. That's maybe one of the things you think through. I give you 2 more minutes to ask me questions, and then afterwards I give each of you 3 quiet minutes to think about what your preferred idea is to earn more. What else? Anybody interested in what flavors ice cream I sell? Maybe just anybody interested? Like, what type of customers do I get? You know, so flavors, for example, is I sell vanilla and chocolate. I sell vanilla and chocolate. And the customers, what do you think? Who are the customers here? Is it going to be Egypt is very hot. That's right. Egypt is very hot. But do you think is it the local folks from Cairo that are buying my ice cream? Tourists. Absolutely. Tourists. So it's good to keep that in mind, you know, as we think about the case study. All right. So then let's say, let's give a bit of time. I want you to think about, if you were the entrepreneur, you were the person having this ice cream shop, what would you do to try to improve your earnings? You know, and don't tell me you put your children to work. No child labor here. Okay. So anyways, I'll give you 1 minute to think it through and come up with something. Okay, I see here a first very good suggestion. During the tourist season, we can raise the prices from $1.50 to $2.50. And in winter, I would have cakes as well. There's actually already 2 ideas, because they're independent, isn't it? They're 2 entirely independent ideas. And so they both, I think, look pretty attractive. Raise the price in the first days. First 25 days. What exactly? Oh, you mean the 25 days of the 50 days? Raise the price, yeah. But then maybe why wouldn't, if it makes sense to raise the price, why not do it, continue after 25 days? I mean, we still have to figure out if it makes sense to raise the prices, but it's a good idea. It's in a way the obvious first idea to raise the price. Sales goals. Yeah, you can set yourself higher sales goals, but that's great. But how? It's the next question. How can I sell more? It's one thing to have a goal, but it's better if you have a goal and also a plan of how to get there. I will give you a clue. Look at this here. Ultimately, what you want to increase here is the profit, isn't it? So often when something is very complicated and you don't know how to think about it, you know, it makes sense to break it up into smaller pieces that you can individually think about. I always have this example, I want to be happy, you know? I want to be happy, but that's very complicated. I mean, if it was so easy, then I would be already happier now, you know? How can I break that down into simpler bits? I could, for example, say, what do I do on Mondays to be happy? What do I do on Tuesdays to be happy? What do I do on Wednesdays? And so on and so forth, one way. So maybe on Mondays I buy an ice cream, you know, or on Tuesdays I actually go with my kids swimming. So this one way to think about it. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's already better than not breaking it down. Or you could say, in order to be happy, I can, how am I happy with my wife? How am I happy with my kids? How am I happy with my friends? How am I happy with my work colleagues? How am I happy? And so on and so forth. You can break it down this way. And then you can say, oh, with my wife, once a week, I'm going to go for dinner. With my kids, you know, I'm actually going to do something special with them, with each of them once a month. And you know, so that already also helps. So the point I'm making, one of the most powerful intellectual tools to solving problems is to breaking down bigger problems into smaller problems that are more manageable to address. It's a very powerful concept. You see that all the time, everywhere in your life. So in this case, our case here, profit, you can break down what is the profit from the sales minus what are the fixed costs that you have. And the profit from sales is really how much do I sell and what is the margin on each individual item that I do. In our case, we said we sell 20 ice creams. And the gross margin is the difference between the price per unit and the cost. Now I sell it for $1.50 and I buy it for 50 cents. So the margin that I make is $1. So my volume 20 times $1 is $20. That's my profit from sales. And the fixed costs are the $6 for the two big ice blocks. So my profit is $14 right now. So in a way, that's already vastly helpful, isn't it? Because now I only need to think about the endpoints. How can I reduce my fixed costs? Or how can I increase my volume? How can I increase my price per unit? Or how can I reduce my cost per unit? So I've taken this more complicated problem, how can I increase more? And now I have 4 very specific questions, you know, that, and so the whole problem has become all suddenly a lot easier, you know? And I think when we do the full course, that's one of the things want to have you take away, that there's ways of breaking things down, and that's ways of thinking that are helpful for you to solve problems, you know, because all your life, really, if you ever want to go into business, into entrepreneurship, business management, the one thing that this really means is you're there to solve problems. No?
So, Professor, you have studied with big, complex questions. You sort of break the question to have a better solution. I would say it's like break the problem is something important.
Break the problem in smaller parts. That's exactly it. You know, and next time you have a problem, break it in smaller parts. You know, let's say you have stress with a friend. You know, break it into smaller parts. What are the 3 things that contribute to it? One, maybe you were in a bad mood because you hadn't slept the night before. Secondly, the friend did something that annoyed you. Thirdly, you didn't respond well. So let's think about each one. What can I do differently? You know? So breaking problems down, very powerful. Okay, so let's think about what you said. So one, increasing price, you already mentioned that, and I agree. I mean, increasing the price from $1.50 to maybe $2.50 could work. Well, what does everybody think? Why we don't know it? Will this improve our profit or not? What is it? Who dares a guess?
I believe depends of how much do you sell, right? So perhaps a counterbalance between selling more or...
It depends on how much volume you lose, because it's now more expensive and so many people don't want to pay it. That's why now it's important to think about who your customer is. Who's your customer? You said it before, tourists. Now, what do you think? What do you think now that we think it's tourists? Will we lose a lot of volume or only little volume? We don't know the answer. We can speculate.
I believe in Cairo, they are willing to consume. So I believe they are high consumers, but Cairo is also, Egypt is also a hot country, a warm country. So perhaps you have clients also residents from Egypt.
Yeah, and the tourists, I mean, in the 3-hour class, I'll ask now everybody to Google who are the tourists who go to the pyramids of Gizeh. And you will see that there's close to 15 million people visiting those. And a lot of them come from, that travel there because it's a once in a lifetime destination. The pyramids of Gizeh are one of the attractions of the world. Now, if I'm a European tourist and I buy a flight ticket and I book in a hotel, and this is the one time I'm going to see the pyramids of Gizeh, am I going to deprive myself from ice cream? Unlikely. Unlikely. Most likely, the volume reduction is going to be very small because of the particular customer that I face here. It would be totally different if I was a small neighborhood shop in a small neighborhood in Cairo, where there's the local kids buying the ice cream every weekend. You know, the mother would say, no, you know what, this shop is too expensive, go to the other shop. You know, but this is not the case here. So most likely the volume would drop very limited, but the price would be up, the margin would be better, and most likely profits would go up. So this is probably a pretty good idea. This is actually one of the best ideas. And so well done for whoever came up with that. What about cost per unit? Do you think that's a big opportunity here? Probably not, because you know what, it's 50 cents. Even if I get this for 40 cents, that's 10 cents per ice cream. That's the price increase we just discussed was from $1.50 to $2.50. That's $1 per ice cream. So the price per unit is probably a much better idea here than the cost. But let's think also for a moment, I want to think us about volume. One thing you will learn at university, in which we will introduce you at the course, is the framework of the 4 Ps in marketing. It's product, price, place, and promotion. And if we had more time, we would now brainstorm really and would send you back into the breakouts to think about that. What can you do? So for example, product, and this was a brilliant idea around cake. Yeah, that's an excellent idea. That's absolutely excellent, because if people who stop to get an ice cream, why shouldn't they buy cake? And as a matter of fact, what else do you think will be perfect for these tourists who stop? What do you think? If I eat cake and have ice cream?
I believe for this product, ice cream, it has to be the product. They have to be good, and you don't need to advertise or marketing a lot, because it's something that you are used to you know the product, you buy when you want. So I believe promotion in advertising in this case is the less important thing.
Yeah, you don't need to explain to people what an ice cream is. That is for sure, that thankfully. But so no product, I mean, there's other things that we could do. We could have maybe strawberry flavor. Maybe that would help, you know. And the other thing is, what about drinks? You could have water. You could sell water. You could sell soft drinks, Coca-Cola. This would probably be amazing ideas, you know, and your cooler box would come in so handy because, I mean, you can offer cold drinks, you know, and then maybe once you have ice cream and these drinks, also maybe it makes sense to have a second cooler box, you know. Then let's think a step further, placement. Are you in the right place between the road, or should you maybe move? Maybe moving to the pyramids, to the parking lot at the pyramids could be a good idea. We don't know the answer. There's obviously more people stopping there than on the middle of the road. But on the other hand, there might be more competition. Maybe there's other people selling ice cream. So we can't really tell, but it's an interesting thought to pursue. Maybe we maybe we go out there one day to check, you know, if there's a lot of competition. If not, we definitely should go there, I think. If yes, maybe we're better placed where we are. But then what about, let's come back to advertising. We don't need to tell them what ice cream is, but I think one of the challenges will probably be how to get people to stop. No, I mean, you're just standing there on the side of the road with your cooler box. How do you get people to stop? In this case, this is your advertising marketing challenge. How do you get them to stop?
It's sort of, you don't have to advertise the product, but advertise the place that's selling.
The shop, right? I think the shop. How could we do that practically? How do we do this? You know, I always say good entrepreneurs come up with, and good business people come up with practical solutions, and not just theory. You know, with practical solutions that work. What is a practical solution that could work here? It's not easy. But I've never done this case, by the way, in many years that I've done this, where people like got it all, you know. Because in retrospect, it always looks easy, but it's not when you do it the first time.
I've received a couple of messages, Professor Peter. Some students are saying some signs or something, you know, the little arrow signs.
Signs, perfect. Signs. A big, you can imagine like a standing sign with a big ice cream cone and a sign with an arrow here. I think, imagine you're just driving with a car, you know, and there's no sign versus a sign. What do you think? I mean, again, we don't know the answer. What do you think? Will this make a big impact or a small impact? Will this increase your ice cream from 20 to 25 or more from 20 to 50 or 100 even? What do you think? Anybody dares a guess? You know, management is also the art of qualified guesses. I'm asking you these things because there's actually value in estimating well. Because often we are afraid of estimating because we say we don't know. We learn in school and math, we have to calculate it exact. You know, the reality is in real life and management is not exact. Most of the time it's not. Most of the time is about roughly understanding. If this banner takes me from 20 to 21, you know, then it's probably not, it's a so-so idea, you know, but if I know it takes me from 20, it doubles, triples, quadruples then it's a damn good idea, you know? So what does your instinct tell you and what's your estimate? I want to give you comfort, to start to learn to actively estimate and develop your sense of numbers, because that is very important later.
Professor Peter, we have João Victor in the chat. He's saying, depending on how hot the day is, teasing the pain of the customer, talking about the hot weather.
Yes, Very good, very good, very good. We could, I love this idea, talking about the hot weather, making the customer time. The only problem is, of course, I don't sit in the car. I first have to get the car to stop so that I can talk to the customer. And if the car has stopped, then they're already likely to buy an ice cream. Even though instead of one ice cream, maybe there's 4 people in the car. Instead of buying one ice cream, they buy then 4. So it's a great strategy. But even more so, how do we get the cars to stop? And I like the sign, or you can put a banner over the road and say, best ice cream in Cairo, 2 kilometers ahead. And then another banner over the road, best ice cream in Cairo, 1 kilometer ahead, you know? And that would make it I dare to say it would make a huge difference. Because if I'm driving on the road, and I know most of you are not driving yet, but imagine you're just sitting in a car and you're dreaming, doing your thing, versus you have this like big signage. It makes all the difference. Because most people drive just past you and never know that there's really an ice cream shop, or they see it too late as they drive past it. And then they say, oh, let's go to the next one, you know? So the banner probably makes a lot of sense. The other thing I want you to think about is, if we think it's tourists, how do they get to the pyramids? Are they all in their own cars, or do they ride a bicycle, or do they walk? Or...
I received a question from a student saying, can it be a drive-through?
I love the idea. I love the idea. I think this is a great idea. It's probably not the right idea to implement in the next 50 days, because we need to get that TV soon, but it's definitely, I would put it on my top priority list for next year. Can we somehow create a nice drive-through and make this really slick? You know, it would be a great idea. And again, but what I want you to think about, many tourists come in what vehicles? They come in what? They don't go by bike, typically. What do tourists come in? They come in
taxis.
Taxis also. Taxis is like a car, yes, taxis. So
Peter, I was thinking about Cairo. So what I see by pictures is that the main tourist points is like very distant from the city. So I believe that the way they go there, it's important.
Yeah.
But I don't have a deep comprehension about Cairo.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, maybe it's the same in Brazil. I don't know in Rio how they move around there, but in Cairo, there's a lot of tourists move in buses. Tourists often, when they come in as a group, they're booked as a group. The group flies in, they stay in a hotel, and then they see the National Museum of Cairo, you know, with the mummies and all that stuff. And then they go into the pyramids, but they go in a bus. Now, when you think about that, many of them come in a bus.
So I have to consider
this in a bus. How many ice creams you can sell in one swoop if you get a bus to stop? How can I get the bus to stop? Hey, wouldn't that be great if the bus stopped and they all bought, each of 50 people, let's say half of them buy an ice cream? That's 25 ice creams in one swoop. That's my daily sales. And then let them also have a drink and a cake. But who decides whether a bus stops or not?
So is that idea to advertise ice cream during the path, the pathway? So
the pathway, I think we should do that. Yes, and that will help stopping the cars, and maybe also some buses. But can we do something very specific to the buses?
advertise inside the bus, like in the back, in the glass in the back?
Yes, we do that. Or one thing we could do, we could go and offer the drivers a free ice cream or a commission. We go to the Bus Driver Association of Cairo and tell them that, you know what, you can go to and give flyers out to the bus drivers. Hey, if you stop here, blah, 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 you get free ice cream.
So João Vitor, thank you. He sent him a direct message. You can write for everyone, João Vitor. I just reread your message. So the first thing he said, what about selling ice creams where most tourists are concentrated? And the other answer, João Vitor wrote me like,
yes. Yes. Yeah, well, there are, but now I think we have now a really nice set of ideas. We had first idea was to increase the price. The other one was that we add additional products, maybe first additional flavor, strawberry, but then we have other products like cake, like drinks, you know. Then we can do some advertising, put banners, signs out there with an arrow, or a banner over the road to stop the cars, or we can pay the drivers here to stop. We motivate the drivers to stop. They get a commission. These are all great ideas. Now, so in a normal course, I would have tried to make this through the breakouts and get us. And here's maybe a list of the typical ideas that come up, you know. And then what we do in the course, which I won't do now. And I mentioned to you, estimating is important. And the reality is, while as you sit there right now, you feel, oh, it's a long list, but you don't really know which one is best, you know? And normally I ask students to rank which one they think is best. Now in management, when you run a business, you often have many ideas and you need to figure out which ideas do I want to go with. You know, it's a very frequent problem, you know. I have 10 ideas, which one shall I do? Shall I do them all? But maybe it's too much work. I don't have the resources, I can't do it all. So I have to pick one or two. How do I go about that? How do I go about it? Well, let's think about it. Let's take a step back. Obviously, one would like to pick the idea that has the highest impact. You would like to pick ideas that give you the desired increase in earnings that you're looking for. We all agree? So this is the one criteria. Is that the only criteria? I would think there's more criteria. The second criteria is, how easily doable is it? If two ideas give me the same earnings growth, then I would definitely pick the easy idea over the one that's complicated and which might not work out. So the second way to think about it is, what is an easy idea? Joao, I will come back to you. I saw your message, but let me just finish this train of thought. But thank you for your comment. So one is, we said, what's the impact on the earnings? Secondly, how easy is it? The third criteria could be, how risky is it? If something is very risky, then it's not as good as if something carries no risk. So there's already three things that one could say. So what we then do in the 3-hour class, we go and we assess each of these 10 ideas along these dimensions to come up with what is best. And that's truly what an entrepreneur or a manager would do. He would go through this. And so for example, increased price, I just give an example. We could here, and this is back of the envelope. That's what I said. Let's get comfortable just estimating numbers to get a sense. You know, we absolutely agree. We don't know, we're estimating, but let's give it a check. So we could assume we increase the price by 50 cents. So if I then sell 20 ice creams at 50 cents more, you know, then that makes me $10 more. $10 more. And that's assuming no volume gets lost. We said because it's tourists, they will probably still buy the ice cream. So let's just assume it's, in the best case, we get $10 more by increasing the price by 50 cents. If we increase the price by $1, as was proposed before, we probably increase up to $20 our earnings per day. See, this is already not bad, you know, before we knew nothing. And now we don't know exactly, but we probably feel $20 is the best I can get if I move from $1.50 to $2.50. But maybe it's not $20, I lose some volume. So maybe it's between 10 and 20. So I would probably think I'm relatively comfortable to say it's probably between $10 and $20 that are earned per day more. And if we have 50 days, and for 50 days I get $10 or $20 more, then that's probably $500 to $1,000. Oh, that's already, you know, that already could be, if I'm lucky enough, for the TV. So it's a pretty solid idea. And increasing price, is that difficult or hard? Is that difficult or easy? What am I saying? Is it difficult or easy? Well, increasing price is one of the easiest things to do. All you do is you change the price you charge, you know, you just put a different price. This is like the easiest ideas, you know. Imagine you wanted to buy a second cooler and hire somebody to go with a second cooler to the parking lot of where the pyramids are. That is an example of a very difficult idea, because not only do you have to hire somebody, you have to buy the box, you have to hire somebody. That person you have to then manage, that he gets there every day, okay, that he goes there, that when he comes back, that he properly counted the cash, that you don't get tricked, you know. You have to now suddenly manage a person every single day. This is like the opposite of easy, you know. So just an example. So we would run through all these ideas, and then we come up with this assessment roughly. What is the value of these individual ideas? Roughly, back of the envelope. And you see these advertising ideas about the signage, the banners across the street, and the commission to the bus driver. They're so big because you get so much more volume, you know. This, and then you also assess what's easy and what's moderate, what's difficult, you know. It's not, nothing is perfect here, but then, and this is the beauty then, that's something you should also learn over time. Once you have found out things, how do I present them? How do I communicate them in a compelling way? And here's an interesting way to do this, for example. Here I made a chart where I said, on the one hand, what is the impact, also the earnings growth, and then the other side, what is the ease? How easy is this? Yeah, and so the things which are easy and have high impact are the best. So the top right quadrant, you know, are the best. Whereas the ones which are at the bottom left, they're difficult and they don't yield much, I'd rather stay away from those. I don't want to deal with that. So the banners and signage is not so easy, you know, and the commission with bus driver to put in place, not so easy, but they give you huge impact. And then, for example, increasing the price is very easy, but doesn't really yield that much. And then, for example, water and soft drinks is a great idea because it gives a lot of money and it's relatively easy, you know. So with that, okay, in the 3-hour course, we fully worked that through. We have a very clear idea of what are the ideas we want to pursue. You know? And the summary of it is, if you put it all together, you know, you could come away with the following. You thought in the beginning, this poor me, living, barely scraping by with my living, you know, making ends meet. But you know what? There are a lot of low-hanging fruits to massively improve earnings. You add water and soft drinks. And by the way, I love the idea of the cake that was made. We increase the price by at least 50 cents, maybe even $1, right? And then given the incredibly small sales that we currently have, only 20 ice cream a day to a place that is visited by 15 million people a year, we have enormous opportunity to grow volume through banners or striking deals with bus driver. The summary of it is, if you calculate it all, you can easily make $20,000 a month. Yeah. And you never thought of that, right? You never, it's hard to believe. Before we earned $14 a day, or less than $500 a month. If you do all these things together, $20,000 a month. And that's the beauty of quantification. So that's one thing I love to always convey. Until you put rough numbers together, and often, as said again, we're afraid to put rough numbers together because we feel we don't know it exactly, and that's why we don't even try. But as soon as you put numbers together, you start to understand the problem. And this problem is not really about this person wanting to earn in 50 days a TV. This person sits on a potential gold mine there, next to the pyramids of Gizeh, which is one of the most frequented tourist attractions in the world, and can be actually rich by doing this. You know? And isn't that amazing how spending a bit of time thinking this through, it has totally changed perspective. I mean, in the beginning, this problem didn't look like the way it looks now. Now that you've thought about it, it's just a completely different animal. And that's a beauty. And in a way, all else that we do in our course, or when you're a manager one day or an entrepreneur, it's very much the same. You know, you have a big picture idea. You break it down into smaller, digestible problems, you know, because the top is too big. Then you deal with each individual problem. You estimate it a bit. You see, is it easy or not? And you know, and eventually, as you do all of that, you start to understand the problem better. And then, in the end, it often looks very different from the beginning. And yeah, so that's really the here my little case study to you. You know, I think I'm well in time. I have here a lot of other things that I normally love to share. Let me see. There's an 80-20 rule. Wait. Bear with me. No, it's another case study. Here. So again, these are the learnings, key learnings. I mean, I said break down problems into smaller, digestible parts. You know that we discussed that, and then be curious and hypothesize. Make it. I almost think in business, you know, you want to make it a sport. Come up with ideas. Think critically about them. Some of them they seem reasonable. Others you realize are stupid, but that's okay. You know. But make it a sport to come up with ideas, throw it away, you know. So go out and just, that's why brainstorming is so much fun, you know, with people. You come up with ideas and you think about it. Then do rough quantifications, as I said, get a better grasp. The insights are enormous. Then also don't get stuck in your thinking. Find easy solutions. I mean, you know, some people, I have done this many cases, some people, they're absolutely hell-bent because their first idea was to hire somebody for a second cooler box. And this is the best idea. Because they can't let go, you know, they can't let go because that was their idea. You know, pride is always a bad advisor, you know, throw your pride away. And if it's the baby in the room that came up with the best idea, you know, then let's celebrate the baby. And then lastly, here, visualize problems or solutions. I think this chart here was very powerful because this is in the end, everything that we thought about put on one sheet. You know, which are the ideas? How easy are they? How much impact do they have? It's beautiful if one can condense a lot of thinking in the end in one single piece of paper. You know?
So, Professor, for this graph, the best solution would be bus drivers, because they are more to the left in the x-axis, so the earnings would be greater.
Yeah, strictly speaking, think of a diagonal.
But easier.
Yeah, think of a diagonal. You want it to be, ideally you want it to be in the top right corner, like super high impact, and super easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is nothing that unfortunately is like super high impact and super easy. So it's almost then you take a diagonal and pull it down. And then you see I would say when you take the diagonal down, there's 4 ideas which stand out for me, which is the banners, the signage, the bus drivers, the water and the soft drinks, and the price increase.
Right. For me, by intuition, when you show the 10 options, my first intuition was move to pyramids. This sounds awesome, but perhaps it's a little bit hard, so does not compensate.
It's hard because you have 3 kids, and you have 3 kids, and now you're leaving them. And so this would make it very difficult. You would have to find a solution for your kids. Maybe you have a nanny, maybe you have a relative or so. The other thing with the pyramids might be, that's why I didn't give it a lot of impact. I presume there's competition out there. But that's, of course, to be tested. If there's no competition, I would say the impact would be very high because everybody stops there. But it would still be pretty difficult practically to make because it's 10 kilometers away. You're not where your kids are. Tricky. But hey, that's the thing. In reality, what you do is we would craft something on day 1, and then we'd say next day, okay, let's test this, you know? And then the next day you would maybe come, oh, okay, you know what, this was right, but this I got totally wrong. We adjusted, you know? Because your first assessment is not always correct, but it's always much better to have a first assessment than not to have it.
So it's not that hard to test the things, and yourself can do the graph, and one graph like this, like make a hypothesis with 10 hypotheses, then we can measure each one and do something.
Yeah, Melka is asking the good question, what is easy and what is the impact? Okay, that of course needs to be, yeah, you're right. But again, try to be practical. Imagine you selling, you have a little shop in front of your house where you sell lemonade. Okay, and then if you instead on top of lemonade you want to sell Coca-Cola, let's say, that would be relatively easy because you know all you have to go to the supermarket is buy Coca-Cola, and then you can also sell Coca-Cola. Yeah, so it's clear to you how you can do it. Typically, if you can do it, if it's in your control, it's easy. You know, it's like it's easy for you to put the alarm on to get up half an hour earlier. It's easy. It's totally in your control. What is not easy are typically things that require many other people to do also things in the way you want them to do it, because maybe they don't, you know, or it's, let's say, something is complicated. Building a rocket to go to space is complicated because you can't do it on your own. You need engineers, you know, you need a lot of money, you know, it costs a lot of time. You might actually not in your lifetime achieve it. So really just be practical, what's easy, what's difficult. As I said, there's no science about this, but increasing price, you know, imagine it's your shop, all you do is you scratch out the old number and you write the new number. That's a new price. So that's quite obviously easy. Or let's say, for example, you want to have a second cooler. Is doable, but you have to first go and buy it. You need to have that extra money to buy it because you right now you don't have any savings. So it can be done. I think it's not very difficult, but it's also not as easy as increasing the price. So just use your best thinking. And again, your best thinking, you might later learn, oh my God, I thought this was going to be so easy, and now it's so complicated, you know? Or sometimes you think, oh, something's so complicated, then you do it. Oh, actually, that wasn't so difficult, you know? It's always about just giving it.
Professor, Maria sent me a direct message. She wanted to ask, but sometimes is it a risk to, I don't know, buy a banner sign and not be sure to be lucrative?
Yes, that's very good. There's a risk, and you ask yourself, what is the size of my risk? So if you buy a banner, let's say, you can always ask yourself, what's the best case, what's the worst case? If you buy the banner, in the best case, I mean, cars now stop like crazy and I sell 5 times as much. In the worst case, the banner really doesn't make any difference. And then you could argue I wasted my money on the banner. That is, so the risk is, I would argue, is limited. And you're absolutely right. I don't have risk here because I didn't want to show a third dimension here in this chart. But it's worthwhile to think about risk as well. Let's think of what idea, for example, here would be risky. I can think of one thing would be risky if you sell vanilla and chocolate to say, you know what, let me just try, let me try banana and strawberry and drop vanilla and chocolate. That's risky because maybe actually those 2 flavors don't sell as well. And then you might end up now losing sales. However, if you say, maybe I only try this for 1 day, then it's not so risky because worst case, you revert back to chocolate and vanilla. Risky would be if you buy 5 new cooler boxes and take a loan for $100. And because you say, I'm going to sell more on a super hot day, but then you don't find people to manage these boxes and place them. And then, so risky, typically I would measure how bad are things when they go wrong. That's risky is if it really can go pretty seriously wrong. And not risky is worst case, nothing much happens. Does that answer the question?
I believe so. Maria, does it answer your question? Yes, thank you. Perfect.
Great. What are the great? I hope this gave you a bit of a glimpse into this idea is really to, I always say the best way to learn about business management communication in fact is to put yourselves in the shoes of the manager or of the owner, and what would you do? And that way, really, you think about all the problems and opportunities that are there. And you know, if you learn how to do that, then eventually you'll be good at it.
So, do we have any more questions? I think the students are shy today, but I think we used up all of the suggestions, right?
Yeah, no, thank you. I also want to thank everybody for, and I'm aware that normally this case lives also from the fact that people behind the breakout, the students talk about themselves, having the ideas. For that, one needs more time. And then it's sometimes great when you come up with great solutions. Sometimes you see, you know what, or you really missed the boat, you know, and it's also part of how it is in reality, you know. Sometimes no entrepreneur has ever built a company without doing some really stupid things along the way.
Thank you so much, Professor Peter, for coming today. I want to thank all the students that did participate in the class, that did ask questions, even in the chat, because you guys were a little bit shy today, but that's okay. We came up with a lot of solutions for our ice cream problem, and probably we would be able to buy the TV.
And I'm sure we are. Okay.
Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you so much, Professor Peter. Obrigada, pessoal.
Thank you.
Okay. It was a pleasure. Bye.
Obrigado. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.